People should stop sending me high-powered lasers. I'm like one jetpack away from being a supervillain at this point. Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max. I have been sent the Algolaser Delta. Ooh. And this is a 22 watt laser, high powered. I also have this lovely ice and snow battle mat for my Warhammer. But I do not have any icy or snowy terrain. So I will be using this high powered laser to make some icy terrain for this. Subscribe if you're not already, tickle my like button, tickle tickle. And let's have a look at the kit and then get into what I'm going to be making with it. The Algolaser Delta comes mostly pre-assembled. All you've got to put on is this crossbar here, which just goes on with a couple of screws on the end. Then you're pretty much there. It's all wired in. There's no need to know any technical knowledge to put this together. The instructions are very clear, so that's very good. And it is easy. You just got to screw these little bits in there for the laser. Put the laser cover on, it's magnetic so it pinches on there, and clip it in place. Nice. Add a couple of feet to the bottom and you're there. There's also an air pump on this. It is plug and play smart. It'll do 30% for engraving and 100% airflow for cutting. Now, one of the key selling points is this little screen here. This is the world's first smart laser engraver. So you can connect to the Wi-Fi from this. It runs 4-core dual CPU with 8MB of RAM, 16MB of memory and a 32GB SD card in there already. And for fans of LED lights and things, there's this nice little RGB display across the front, which lets you know if the machine's running, the work is in progress, or any alerts coming up. Will flash this in different colours. With this, as you can imagine, you do not need to connect to devices or apps. You can just run it from the laser cutter itself. And you can upload files to the Delta in around 10 seconds, which is pretty speedy. If you've already got files uploaded to it, you can do offline batch cutting because the files are there and everything is controllable from this screen itself. You can even engrave from your phone with the app for this. And the smart laser module will do things like flame detect, lens cleaning reminders, and air pressure monitoring. When I was going through the stats for this thing, it said it could cut through a 45mm block of black acrylic in one go. Now, that's quite impressive because the black colour obviously absorbs a lot of the light, and also in one pass, apparently this is the strongest 22 watt engraving machine that you can buy. With 2nd generation COS technology, the polarized beam, it improves performance by 40% compared to 20 watt lasers. And the COS technology compresses the laser spot from a rectangle to a square with nearly a 1:1 ratio. So for normal people speak, it's 40% smaller spot size than other lasers. I tested to see if it really could get through 45mm of black acrylic, and look how close it got. This is just user error, mind. This is nearly all the way through. If I'd have slowed the laser down a little bit more, it would have got all the way through in one pass. Now that is impressive. Now, we've had a little look at the kit I will be using, and now what I'll be cutting out is my own design of hab units and larger industrial complexes. I've spent time in between this and the last terrain video designing these. I've come up with my own little hab units. This was a prototype. I have moved on since here, and my own little launch pads and billboards and stuff. So let's get cutting. I tried to attach my camera to the laser module itself, but to be honest, the frightening speed of this thing gave me some really shaky footage. This thing can go 500mm a second, that's 30,000mm a minute, that's 30 meters in a minute. A meter every 2 seconds, which is ridiculously fast. This thing has a crazy output, which according to its fact sheet is 12 times faster in actual engraving performance and exceeds the industry boundaries. And honestly, I was shocked at the speed. I've done some other laser cutting recently. If you subscribe to the channel, you know, this is faster. This is so much faster. Due to me needing this terrain fast for a game coming up very soon at my house, I probably won't be able to take advantage of all of these fine little details I'm putting in the paint job. But I will be doing another video on this terrain later on the channel when I do have the time to put all the effort into making these look amazing and perfect. For now, these terrain pieces are going to be kind of a rusty, neon, hellish nightmare of a town that you would not want to live in. This is the 41st millennia, of course. This is a grimdark future of mankind. The hab units in today's video will be some kind of snowy outpost, maybe a refinery, maybe somewhere where people only live there because they work there. This is not going to be the happy future that we all hope for, because of course it is 40k. These designs use the same interlocking system as the free files that I cut out in the previous laser cutting video. This means that if any of you in the future start to laser cut yourself, any Lizard of Doom stuff will interact with those free files. So that's quite nice. You can then stack this to your heart's content and make any kind of setup on the board. The accuracy of laser cutting is a bit difficult to predict. The holes that I've set up for everything are 3mm, and this MDF is 3mm, but because of the MDF, I can never be exact. Things like production, moisture content in the air where it's stored, if it ever got wet at any point and I don't know about, make the MDF expand. So sometimes a little bit of trimming afterwards is needed with a knife, but otherwise everything fits very smoothly, and most of this doesn't even need glue. I've gone through a lot of effort to give a lot of options for signage on these things. I will be using mainly, of course, the Lizard of Doom logo. I've tried to give options for maybe Tau would use these prefabs, or maybe the Imperium would use them. Different kind of shops, a medic station, occupied, vacant, and repairs signs. This stuff is designed to make your own little city, really. And I'm making my own little snowy outpost for my Christmas game coming up soon. I will be making more Christmassy terrain on the channel, so please stay tuned for that. This is the first of many terrain videos coming up in the next month or so, alongside my other Tau videos. Here we can see those signs I talked about. With a mix of engraving and cutting, you can make nice little signs which pop out and will look really good with a neon glow around them. I really enjoy laser cutting, and I really enjoyed the Algolaser. This has been a fantastic experiment with a new piece of kit that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I actually spent days laser cutting. It is quite therapeutic, and I can build these now as fast as I can cut them. I've become a pro at building and putting these together, knowing all the little tricks and skills you need to put them together. A little bit of wood glue here and there on stuff like signs and ladders, but otherwise it is all push fit. I may have gone a little bit nuts. I cut out a lot of this, and I can now build it as fast as I can cut it. Let's have a look at what I've got. Servitor Kit Bash for scale. I have cut out a lot of terrain. This is indeed maybe a city's worth. We'll see at the end what it looks like on a big board, but this is a lot to contend with, so speed paint activate. First I gave them and myself a prime of matte black, and then a metallic zenithal over the top, leaving them looking quite smart, ready to start painting with this absolute tower of buildings. There was only one choice, and that was speed paint. So I'm going to show you all the steps on this one building here. This is the last one of the batch, and at this point I'd had my speed painting down. What I started with was a sponge. I needed to tear a little bit here and shape it to the correct shape. You see, get rid of any sticking out bits like this and make it nice and uneven. Sponge on some Stormhost silver on all the raised areas. I wanted to draw attention to these little panels in here and all around the edges of the outer shell. Once we have it there, we are now ready for some contrast paint. Flesh Tearer's red is kind of close to Lizard of Doom red, so I went with that on these inner panels here. Again, these little details will not be too visible, but nice little hints to something more textured and interesting on the eye underneath this contrast paint. Once that had dried, we had something looking a little bit like this. Time to grunge it up. Streaking grime going on heavy down these little side panels here, making sure it would get into all those little areas that had been laser cut out. Blibs and blobs everywhere, and then I came back with a brush with a little bit of white spirit on it, a damp brush, not a wet brush, and then pushed it into all those areas there. Thinning it on the model is a little bit unusual for streaking grime, and I probably wouldn't do this on a miniature. On a piece of terrain, you can get some nice streaks out of this. This is kind of more what streaking grime is meant for than how we normally use it in 40k. Any areas I went a little bit too hard on with the streak and grime, I did come back with some white spirit on the brush and kind of stipple it out and make it look a little bit more grubby than stained. Once I was happy with the staining and streaks, I continued it on all the other sides of the building. Not the roof yet. The roof I was going to do a little bit differently and a little bit more haphazardly, but we shall see that in a moment. Before, I have got another streak and grime product that I'm going to use that I haven't used before, that I was interested to see how it worked. This is the Light Rust Dust from AK. This was going to be interesting. I found it did dry faster than a normal streak and grime as it was thinner, so I didn't have as much working time to make it streaky and splodge it around. But you can always reactivate it a little bit with a bit of white spirit. This will make this a little bit more interesting for the eye. A lot of this is going to have snow effect all over it, so I just wanted to make sure that there was something underneath for it to pop through. A lot of this is going to have snow effect over it, so I just wanted to make sure that any bits that were showing had some kind of life to them, that they didn't feel just like bare metallics, that something was going on here. This was a used environment. On the roof, I just blobbed these two everywhere, splashed around some white spirit, and then dabbed it back off with a tissue. This gave me a nice rough texture. The rooftops are going to be snowy, so this is just going to be a little bit just in case you can see through that snow. And once I've done this, we've got a nice decrepit, run-down, little dingy hab pod. Lovely. The next step will be the neon lights. You can see the LOD logo there. I will give it a little blast of white to start with, just to pick that up. And I'm not afraid of the overspray from the airbrush here. That'll just add to the glow effect from the neon. Once I had done this both sides, I also did the light on the end of the building. Everything is going to be pink neon in this city. I just like the look of the colour and I used it on a kit bash recently, so I wanted to incorporate that here. A couple of thin coats just to give that nice glow all around as well, not just on the light. We want the environment to be glowing pink around it to make it feel like it's projecting that source lighting. For the snow effect, I'm going to be using something a little bit different. This is snow spray from the pound shop. This is a very cheap kind of canned snow that's meant for windows and other household things. Will this be any good for terrain? Now, I would never use this on a miniature, I don't think, but I'm willing to experiment with my own laser cut terrain because I can always just cut more, because I have the Algolaser Delta. This stuff went on thick. I was pretty sure though, once I'd blasted it with some matte varnish afterwards, they would bring this back, because this is a particulate spray and the matte varnish is wet. So when you put that over something that's dusty, it is going to kind of dampen that back down. However, for now, it looks very, very snowy, and you can't even see anything when I do the roof. All of the texture is gone. But I had faith in my technique, and hope, and fingers crossed, and I also wanted to add some little footsteps to the one I'd done on camera, as if someone had come up this ladder. This is just so when we see the final reveal shots, you'll be able to tell which one it is that I painted on camera. We have our finished hab unit laser cut out on the Algolaser Delta and then painted in about an hour per building. Not bad. Not bad at all. Thank you all for watching, and thank you to Algolaser for sponsoring this video. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and if you'd like to support the channel, then the Patreon is up in the corner now. Shablam! The Patreon's names will be over the reveal shots at the end. The experiment with the snow kind of worked. What I'd like to do is do another layer of snow and another layer of varnish after that when I've got the time. That is all from me this week. Remember, it is not a pile of shame, it is a pile of future fun. Comment algorithm for the algorithm, likes for the like throne, and I will see you next time. Peace!